This particular part of Southbank, like the BFI IMAX cinema, it's around about right outside of Waterloo, and this is really like the home of parkour culture in the UK. This is where it started, and this spot has always been so iconic.
Yeah!
This is where I do like a Kong front.
We don't need Drew anymore. Like, sack him.
That's vibes,
Sack
bro.
him. Sack Drew.
That was actually, I stuck it too, you know? Man, like,
I don't know why, I guess because it's that same sort of like brutalist architecture that we're looking at in the council estate. Like this walkway and the whole area around Southbank has a lot of that same style of architecture from the same period. I guess because this spot is sort of like a weird public area that there's no private security to kick you off, it kind of naturally became a home that people back in the day would come and, you know, do jams, fucking train out. Pretty much any day you come to IMAX ever, there'll always be people training here. I mean, definitely Dom Tomato like has destroyed this spot in so many ways. Like, I guess what, 10, 15 years ago, there was the cat pass done from like where the thing is over down here, and that was kind of a huge iconic moment because it was like using the spot in a way that had never been used before, like breaching a gap that had never been breached. Danny Illebacker doing the first like cat pass level pre. Marcio speed step pre that like 40 something times in one day to get the stick.
To get the stick, yeah, which is
that was a crazy day at IMAX actually. IMAX is a way of seeing the progression of the physical side of the sport. You kind of see how the spot gets used differently in ways that like weren't possible 15 years ago, but now today, like Dom doing that is like,
for sure.
We're in a new realm of parkour now. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I found some thing when I was researching about it recently that there are plans to demolish this area and totally like redevelop. So IMAX could go, and potentially like putting it in the game is another way of kind of immortalizing it and making sure that its kind of history will always live on, even in the future of the sport when people are fucking doing it in a video game. What the fuck? Yeah, there's like a massive drop through there as well.
Yeah, it looks like they put a little bit of extra wood here. You can kind of see this bit, but
Maybe
underneath
Toby did that.
Maybe.
Come in and fix it. Let's fix up IMAX.
like, do you think any consideration goes in from like the council side, right? That they're aware that this is a spot. If you know people are on this, right? That you know people jump around it. Do you think there's a care to be like, yo, let's make sure these things are
No,
safe?
because they don't want to encourage us doing it. That's the thing.
But then it's almost like, it's a bit of ignorance in it, being like, oh, we don't want to encourage it,
Well,
but
they
we're going to
put-
let it degrade
exactly and
until
become more
someone
dangerous.
basically gets hurt.
These bits here, they put, you can kind of see them over there. They're almost like a skate stopper, but for parkour. They're like little grip tape bits that are coming out.
Oh,
and they put
sweet.
them along this because they know we use this as a run-up. And I remember when they first appeared here, and then people just started ripping them off.
Crispy. Like, you just get here and you're just a bit like a kid in a candy shop, kind of like,
It's so fun.
oh, walls. Like,
I mean,
I just love walls. Do you know what I mean? He gets it just, before anything, he's like, let me just jump on here, let me just do a little front, like, yeah.
Oh, you clearly as well. You went and did that pre. which
Yeah,
is
but my
definitely
love of
going in
walls
this.
is slightly different in terms of like, I
Love
like
walls.
structured, stable walls. I guess the tricky part is like, as amazing as a sport as this is in real life, does that necessarily equate to a great sport in game? Because like, we have to kind of build a world and an environment around the animation systems. Like this gap here, which may be impressive in real life, may not feel as like crazy in game. So we've basically made it all a bit bigger. So like bigger drops, bigger gaps, give you a bit more room to chain different moves. But the thing that I think we're working on now that is the biggest thing is the real life feel of it and like the texturing. Because it is, yeah, obviously really interesting geometry, but more importantly, it's the wear on the walls, it's the wear, like all the things you're talking about there. How do we translate that into the game? So when someone plays it, they feel as if they're here whilst able to do all the cool shit you could do in the game. So one of the coolest things in game is like feeling like you're on a space and there's this stuff above you. And then that feeling of scale and like kind of magnitude of your environment, that in the current layout, we have this like quite cool like C block kind of section that is inspired by Milford Towers that kind of sits behind it, kind of like this. So it's not the same because it obviously has a lot more parkour in-game opportunities, but it has the same feeling of like, oh, this is big, that's even bigger.
This spot and every detail of it is known better than probably any other spot in the world by parkour people. So like, even the shape of the lamppost or like the kind of rail or like the surface, that like divot, it's like, it all has to be so faithful.
The tricky thing with like photogrammetry, I guess, is like, it's used for like good static like objects. So like this lamppost, if you can get around it.
I mean, I can do one for you. That's like, let's do these boxes.
Do you ever get awkward like looks when you go around?
Mate, it's the most awkward thing to do.
I'm curious to see what your process is,
especially mate, when I'm doing like bins and shit. Basically, what I have to do is take loads of photos of every angle of this object, and then the app has an algorithm that makes a 3D model out of that, but it's like completely photoreal, and you end up taking like 200, 300 photos, and it stitches all that into one asset. But you look pretty weird when you're doing it, basically. So this is like a bin in Lewisham. I definitely look very strange doing that one. This was a dog poo bin in Thamesmead. Like, there's so many objects about in real life, like the street light, the sign there, these black boxes. And particularly at IMAX, like, you kind of want a piece of that real environment. And stuff like this that are street objects, you can literally lift that and put it in the game. At first, we're building the geometry for buildings, and then it's kind of like, if you leave all the rest blank, it just doesn't feel like a city. It's just a really good way of kind of getting real elements of like the street culture into a virtual world, basically.
In the very first version, we had this area, the cinema, and most of these buildings as well. We had the whole thing, and the road as well. In the very first version, I actually went on the road and take everything, you know, like the stop SDF, like I just went there and I just take picture of every of these road marks, recreated all these areas. Like even like the please keep the distance, I went like that, like Drew was doing now, like and everyone around me thought that was absolutely insane. There's no change, unfortunately, because we couldn't keep the same version. Of course, it's a reconstruction of the area. It's not exactly that, because all of the copyright, you see the place that we're going now and you see in the game is very, very close. You see that there are the same type of walls, the same texturing. We may want to put those circles there, because that will look cool. We can convince Drew to pick colors in the game. It's gonna be a big moment. When we have colors in the game, I think either Drew is gonna die inside, maybe he's gonna think, yeah, you know what, colors are not that bad.
Is that perfect? Is he getting max score?
This is what you have to understand about Kelan, is his standards of sticks are so high. I would have taken that and run. Oh, that was
the best.
That was sick.
That was the one. Drew, those circles there, they have colors in it. I'm just saying that.
I prefer the yellow.
For me, it's my favorite thing in the whole like estate level, because obviously the color, like, now we're obviously trying to capture this kind of like gray, kind of brownish, like beige-ish washed concrete brutalist style, but in a game it still needs to be colorful, and stuff like that breaks it up, because it's easy to feel like this kind of washed gray when you're playing. But having little stuff like that, like the graffiti, it grounds it in a way that makes it feel fun to look at. And like all of a sudden this spot becomes, you're just attracted to it. More stuff like this I think will go add. Even like Brutalism has like a sense of being cold and like kind of mean and I don't know, like playground bully vibe. But it just feels also the most full of life. Like it's lived, innit? Like just the ground and the little crack in the wall, it's like, it just feels lived rather than a perfect sheet of glass. But these like styles, the walls, the textures, all of this is inspiration and reference. Like even this sloped, like some bits, to be honest, are actually pretty much one-to-one. Like I think there is exactly this in the game. The rest is kind of reimagined so that we can make just the most fun environments as possible, really. Like gameplay and having fun comes first. And we just try and marry that with doing justice to the environments that we're trying to make.
So these are like the iconic Hayward Gallery strides, but as you can see, well, what used to be a concrete run-up is now a bush garden of some sort. So they've totally changed the spot, and it's basically made that iconic challenge not possible anymore. I guess you could do it standing from there, but it's like stride, 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 stride. I don't know who was the first to do it, maybe Danny.
Do you feel like even though you don't have this spot, I feel like I recognize it in the game?
Yeah. We've got so many like modules or elements from the real world that are reimagined and used in different ways. It's like, this staircase is in it, that wall is in it. Something like that wall is in it.
This exact walkway is actually in
There
it.
you
Like,
go.
a big element is like, given modular like pieces like the staircase and the walkways, how do you find ways that make sense architecturally as well to have just objective fun with specific mechanics? Like, if I just need a bunch of strides, oftentimes you're kind of rewriting the way in which it should flow so that you can have like you look around here, there's not like many opportunities right now to like lash at.
Yeah.
I say that, but like in the game, something like that, when the emphasis is so much on recreating the space, you almost forget that like people just want to sometimes just stride, or I just want to like the swings, or looking at it as mechanics specifically, like the lashes and swinging on the bar is really fun. So like, how can we find ways to inject that for people that just want to, I'm in the mood to swing about, where do I go in this area to be able to do so? And like these kind of elements now, like the kind of lights there, this is the stuff that we're really focusing on adding. I can imagine now in the game, you space those out so that you have to jump to them, or you drop them down so you stride across, and then you like swing it around this bit here so you can do it.
Because you know what would be really sick as well? Like having a really bright light, like as you're doing the strides, would feel so sick.
Yeah.
Red Bull did an Art of Motion here years ago, and the whole of Southbank was like, I don't know, there's 10, 20,000 people here watching just like a parkour competition back in the day. I feel like that was like a highlight moment of parkour in Southbank in terms of like mainstream attention to the sport. That was huge. This is also the first level that we released in a demo.
We had that tutorial, Drew's character running around, teaching the person to run and through trees and stuff.
I feel like it's something that is really starting to dawn on us now, like how important the tutorial and teaching players the controls really is, because part of the fun of the game is, you know, it's complicated. Like you've got loads of different animations and loads of different combinations of controls to be able to do the moveset that we want in the game. So part of the like skill, like what takes the time, is kind of remembering the controls and like knowing how to use what in certain situations, and teaching players that in a logical way that's easy for them to remember is ending up being like quite a challenge.
Yeah, no, it's hard like tossing them into just anywhere, and you kind of, this like freedom of choice, the perception of it. When you want to do so much, but you don't know how to do even the basic things, it actually isn't that fun. But once you like, I know how to jump, climb, grab, swing, all of a sudden the space is truly unlocked. So
the tutorial is like a big focus at the moment, like trying to logically get players into like remembering the controls and using it.
Like truly feeling like you're in an environment. There's a couple things that are massive, like the environment itself and like the textures and the materials. Then you look at like the lighting and the dynamic things like the people, the objects, stuff like that. And then the other thing is like the sound. And there's obviously like ambient sound, like you know, we were talking now how we can't hear each other because of all the drilling and the jet washing and the cars and the sirens, and all of that stuff grounds you in the space. And the last kind of cherry on top of that is the soundtrack, and how that not only instills in you where you are, but sets a kind of a tone. Like you think of anything, you know, when you listen to a song, you are put into a mood. The ability to use music as a way to change the player's experience and how they feel when moving through an environment is super, super powerful. And on top of that, the cultural side of parkour and music, which I think is something that, you know, if you watch parkour parts, watch all the STORROR videos, like music is a massive part that maybe hasn't yet been fully explored as to like, what is that kind of relationship between a street sport and street music?